television. Bells are ringing. It seems we don't have a quorum in the House, and it is required that 1/3 of members of Parliament must be present in the House for any business of the House to transact. And so once the quorum is formed, business of the House will resume. And under consideration is question number 353, which came from Solwezi East Member of Parliament, Mr. Alex Katakwe.
Order.
And so just
When
now we
business
take
was suspended, the House was considering the question for oral answer, number 353 on the order paper, and the Honourable Minister was responding to a follow-up question by the Honourable Member for Chimwemwe. May the Honourable Minister continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to conclude on to tie up on the question, we are in this, the last question that we had in C. Honourable Member had wanted to know the detail of what would have been paid out in terms of claims. At the moment, we are collecting about Zambian quarter 100 million per month and paying out approximately 100 as well per month. The investment reserve sits at 1.4 billion. So, like I said, that there's a tie spend and the claims and the contributions. So, but the investment reserve stands at 1.4 billion. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Rwena.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Minister, NEMA has for a while oscillated between being a medical insurance scheme and being a health financing scheme. Consequently, NEMA is facing some operating challenges, one of which relates to their authorizing or authorization procedures. At the moment, NEMA requires a patient or a registered subscriber to get authority by submitting their fingerprints. Now, in situations where the patient there is also the subscriber and they are indisposed, basically they can't walk and they are being taken to the hospital, people are facing challenges in relation to getting the necessary authority. My question is, your ministry considering restructuring the operations of NEMA, which could include having NEMA system being accessible by all registered health institutions? And if so, how soon can that be done? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Labour.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the Honourable Member for that question. But, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure all appreciate the importance of biometrics in terms of ensuring that we protect the fund system to ensure that only the registered members are accessing. So it is very, very important that these biometrics are taken. However, Mr. Speaker, there are also measures that have been put in place for emergency situations, especially of patients that are bedridden. One of those is that the doctors can complete a form, and NEMA will effect a bypass for such patients that need this bypass at doctors and are given authority to undertake on behalf of patients that are not well. And NEMA has also, Mr. Speaker, commenced trainings for ensuring that all the players are brought up to date with all the intricacies, such as the example that has been given in here, so they take the right pathway, the right route, take the right action. So trainings are part of the program, and these are being rolled out at this moment. Mr. Speaker, the restructuring that the member is talking about is ongoing, and definitely we will endeavor, NEMA will endeavor to make sure that the system is made super efficient. I submit.
The Honorable Member for Shwangandu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question is like a rider on the question posed by the Honorable MP for Luena. And he just forgot to say that the committee him and I belong to has interacted with a lot of stakeholders regarding this NEMA scheme. And having interacted with most of the stakeholders, their overview, in line of what you acknowledge yourself, that this specific scheme was meant to ensure universal health coverage, which means to leave no one behind, including those that are not in the formal or informal sector employment. Would it be so difficult, Honorable Minister, to let this scheme be administered from the ministry where it was born from, the Ministry of Health, in order to avoid some of the challenges that are being faced in the administration of this scheme? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Labour and Social Security.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member for the question that he has made. In response to that question, we as this government, the New Dawn government, work as one government. And as we came into office, there were necessary alignments and realignments, calibration and recalibration, and re-engineering that made this government see it fit to align the NEMA, with the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, because this government saw it fit. And whenever this government will see again, as it recalibrates, to refine and refine, it will choose again to see where it's most relevant to position any of the statutory institutions. I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Solwezi East.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As one of my second follow-up questions, since we are given a chance of two, the first one is, Minister, thank you for the responses. I see that from your submission, the monies that were not accessed and used is quite colossal. Do you have any plan to utilize these monies under NEMA so that we're able to procure equipment like laparoscopes which are used in surgery? Because this is one of the instruments that as a country we lack, and yet it is quite vital in the medical fraternity to treat fibromyalgia, uterine fibroids, and so on. Do you have that kind of plan so that we can procure these necessary instrument or equipment that we need in the medical fraternity? Thank you.
So the question is, I don't know whether, Honorable Minister, you're ready? Because that question is supposed to come under Ministry of Health, I think. I think Honorable Member of Solwezi East, try to engage the Minister of Health. I think more clarity can be given. Let's make progress. The Honorable Member from Pongwe.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, most of the health institutions are not offering NEMA services. For example, Mpongwe, a district of population of 300,000, only 2 institutions are offering NEMA services. Are there any plans to increase number of the institutions offering NEMA services? I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Labour and Social Security.
Mr. Speaker, the chamber is full of buzz. It's filled with a buzz. May the honourable member just repeat his question as we manage the buzz of the bumblebees? I submit.
I think, repeat your question.
Thank you so much,
With
Mr.
more-
Speaker. Honorable Minister, most of health institutions in Zambia are not offering NIMA services. For example, Mpongwe, a district with a population of 300,000, only 2 institutions are offering NIMA services. Are there any plans to increase health institutions offering NIMA services? I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Labor and Social Security.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to respond to that question, and thank you to the member. Mr. Speaker, continuous improvement, and even as we talk, there are activities that are going on to review and reproject forecast and reforecast to see where we are going and see how we can expand the reach of NIMA services. So attention is going on and is need-based on us as need arises per institution. So the institutions, once the institution applies, they are assessed and a response obviously is given to them as to whether they'll be admitted at a particular moment, or if it's in the next few months, they'll be advised as well. So it's on a need basis, Mr. Speaker. So indeed, the people of Mpongwe should not lose hope. We have taken it, they have taken their question, and as a listening government, we will examine the need at Mpongwe, just like we are doing for other applicants that have applied, and we will revert back to them because it's a duty for NIMA to reach out to all the locations where our people who need to be reached within the universal coverage are living. I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chikakanta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Minister, what are the major sources of financing under NIMA, considering that the good people of Chikankata, the majority of them are not in employment? I submit.
The Honorable Minister of Labor and Social Security.
Mr. Speaker, can you just repeat again? A lot of noise in the chamber.
Honorable Member for Chikakanta.
Chikankata.
Chikakanta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Repeat with more clarity now.
Thank
because
you, Mr. Speaker.
your question, the minister couldn't get it. Because you're asking that...
what are the major sources of financing under NIMA, taking into consideration that the majority of the people of Chikankata are not in employment? I submit.
The Honorable Minister of Labor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And thank you to the Honorable Member for Chikankata. So contribution, appropriation at Parliament, and investment income. I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me take this opportunity to seek clarification from the Minister to remove my surprise, which I've been living with for almost two months. 2 months, not 2 years. You know. Honorable Minister, the purpose of NIMA was to facilitate for universal health coverage. Here is a situation, a practical situation. A government worker who subscribes to NIMA unfortunately falls sick of a complicated illness and goes to the whole health facility and is told, you have to cater for 45,000 kwacha. But NIMA is not going to take part. Where is the relevance? I want to understand the relevance of this, the civil servant who is now a patient, and at the time when he's a patient, he still has to subscribe, but is denied the service which NEMA, to which he subscribes, is objecting. What is the relevance, Honorable Mr. Speaker? Where is the relevance of subscribing to NEMA? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Labour and Social Security.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member for Kalabo Central. Mr. Speaker, the purpose of NEMA, I just want to go through that again, and so that we align with the Honorable Member through you. The purpose of NEMA is to implement the National Health Insurance Scheme, whose aim is to help the government achieve universal health coverage, where all people and communities can use the promotive, preventive, curative, rehabilitative, and palliative health services they need of sufficient quality and efficacy, while also ensuring that the use of these services do not expose the user to financial hardship. In executing this mandate, Mr. Speaker, there are different players. There is NEMA, of course, who is the authority that is carrying out the mandate, receiving the claims, and also paying out, receiving the contributions, and also ensuring that the authority reimburses the institutions, the health institutions, public and private, that are delivering. They are at the front end, okay, whether the back end, the front end. NEMA is at the back end where they have the money, they're doing the insurance, putting together the insurance package and administering to ensure that the institutions that are delivering on the object of health care are doing their job. And so, both public sector institutions, private sector healthcare institutions have a duty, of course, at that point of accessing the service, accessing that health care, that medical service, whatever within the broad range that I've just described here. So our work with NEMA's work is to ensure that there is a smooth flow of finances to go to the institutions in order for them to administer. Now, I think it's a responsibility of us as administrators in all sectors of the economy. We recognize that it is important for excellency to prevail at any point of delivery of public services. So if there's been a case, a real case, where a member who has subscribed, has paid their contribution, and when they go to access at a public or whether at a healthcare institution or the point of delivery, they go and then they are denied at that point. Of course, that is a matter that is of urgent attention that will need to be followed up. That's what I would say, will need to be followed up. But take note that the honorable member would be concerned with NEMA if NEMA has not paid, because the provider pays upfront, NEMA reimburses by paying the service deliverer or the implementer or the one who is delivering the health care. So at the end of the day, we have to take responsibility at the different points. NEMA has had the responsibility of paying, and they pay. Until we hear of a time when NEMA has not been able to pay, then we have to investigate why the payment has not been done. The honorable member should take note, and members of the public, is that NEMA doesn't pay directly to the client, to the member when they go to access the service, the healthcare services. NEMA pays to the public service institution, private service institution that are delivering on health. So if the flow of the failure of service is at the point of the institution, the healthcare institution, and the patient, then that, of course, will have to be followed up and find out why. But as for NEMA's accountability, it is when NEMA fails to reimburse the institutions. So the service will soon need, reach out to all parts of the country. Of course, we are working on rolling out to all the different institutions who are delivering healthcare, even those that were not included in the past, because the service was focusing on the higher service delivery, like central hospitals, the bigger institutions of service delivery in the public sector, health service delivery. But now, NEMA is rolling out to get out to the mini hospitals, to the healthcare centers that are able to reach our people in all the remote areas that may not have bigger hospitals like district hospitals and the type that has been reached out by NEMA in the past. So in a nutshell, the fact that that client was not able to receive the service, the healthcare service, may not be attributed directly to NEMA because NEMA is not at the front end. So but as collective responsibility, we have to find out in the whole value chain, delivery chain, back and front, and find out why such a case must arise where a patient is not attended to because of whatever reason. NEMA will deliver wherever a member who has paid, who has contributed, seeks or demands a service. NEMA, in any case, is also delivering even to indigents who have not paid, those who are required to just present their NRC because they are of a certain age that has been prescribed in the law. NEMA will deliver, and we are delivering. So this case, I would say, is probably one of those cases, few cases that has to be investigated so that there's continuous improvement even at the front end where NEMA is not seated, because NEMA cares as to whether what they are paying for, what NEMA is paying for, is actually happening and is delivering at the front end the care that is described in that universality. So we are interested, we will always follow up on a case like that. I submit.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. That is quite a good explanation. Honorable Member from Furira.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, with regard to your answer to Part C of the question, which is asking about how many members benefited, the greatest benefit that members get is that they go to the facility and they'll find drugs. I'll give you an example as a build-up to my question, short one. In Mufrira, we have Kamchanga District Hospital, which I visited. That was about April. And when I looked at the NEMA shelf for the drugs, it was almost empty. And the explanation was that that facility, Kamchanga District Hospital, had gone for 4 months without reimbursement from NEMA. And so they are not able to buy drugs, so the members are not able to benefit. So my question is, why should NEMA, or why does NEMA take so long to reimburse the health facilities, therefore crippling their ability to provide the services to the members? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Labour and Social Security.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honourable Member, for that question about Kamchanga. That would be unfortunate to hear that there's no medication in the NEMA section. The situation is NEMA is an insurance, health insurance authority. It does not have its section with a particular medication that is bought by NEMA as it is. So the responsibility for drugs availability and all other care services and part of the care package is available in the institutions lies on the particular institution. NEMA provides the money that would, in the follow-up, of course, support that institution to be able to deliver on its services. But it does not buy medications or drugs. I know that there's a part in the Act, the NEMA Act, that provided for a contribution to ZAMSA, a drug fund. That's a different matter to discuss. But in terms of the direct care support in terms of claims, does not link to medications that are bought specifically for NEMA. The drugstore pharmacy is the same. We expect that the institutions are well stocked, of course, private, public, so that members are able to access the drugs and other services that they need for them to attend to their particular issue. And payments are done on 30-day cycles unless there's a query, and which, of course, is administrative, which has to be followed up. But within 30 days, NEMA should have paid. Hospitals will be engaged, of course, on the claiming process. So there is no reason why there should be appointing to a particular box which belongs to NEMA. No, NEMA patients, no. And on the other hand, patients, claimants, have got a choice to go wherever. So if they may not find in one place, I'm sure they are able to sample another within the array of services, healthcare delivery points that are available within the public and private sector. Go to another place. But we take note, regardless, Mr. Speaker, of the issue as part of the feedback to service delivery or for the delivery, improvement of the delivery of this healthcare insurance package that comes from NEMA. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Masaiti.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
There is a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Parliament is a sacred institution. And as we assemble here, according to Standing Order 65B, factual information must be delivered, and more so that this is a subject dealing with the general populace of the Zambian people. I was not supposed to stand. I thought maybe the minister will correct herself. But she has continued misleading the Zambian people against our Standing Order number 65B, that no, there is no section in the hospitals and clinics belonging to NIM. Mr. Speaker, you go to Levy, you even find a ward specifically dedicated for NIM. You go to UTH, everywhere in the country. Is the minister in order to mislead the Zambian people and mislead herself? Maybe she doesn't go to a public institution, that there is no specific unit created for NIMA in Zambia. And Zambians are listening out there. Is that a new government policy that when you go to UTH, all the hospitals is for, you can go anywhere, they will not say, no, you NIMA, that is your section. Levy and all any other clinics. I seek your serious ruling, Mr. Speaker, on this subject, which is very key, not to me, not to us assembled here, but to the Zambian people who have been subjected to this treatment out there. I thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Member. One of the things that we should not do, especially on the floor of the House, is that we shouldn't try to convince ourselves as we ask that ministers should respond to our expectations, or they should be able to answer us the way we expect. When ministers speak, they speak from a government point of view, a very informed point of view. So it defeats the whole purpose for you asking if you know the answers. because you ask these questions to the executive so that the clarity that you seek has to be given. Now, in an event that government gives its position, you still want them to speak the way you want to feel. It's not good. I mean, the minister has spoken, so it is. Let's make progress. The honorable member for Solwezi East. Okay. You interjected while it was. Yes. So the honorable member, you can continue. The government has given its position. As such, let's also.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In responding to universal coverage without leaving anyone behind, Honorable Minister, my emphasis is without leaving anyone behind. Is there age limit in NEMA contributions? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member from Authority, for that question. As I was laying out the information, I talked about the principal contributors, and I also talked about dependents. So that immediately demonstrates that the dependents of a certain age will be paid for by the principal. But 18 to 65 is the range of those that have to make contributions. I submit.
Yeah.
The honorable member for Solwezi East.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And thank you, Minister, for the good response, especially that you indicated the significance of NEMA, which was created to promote growth of social health sector protection, and also in its quest to contribute to universal health coverage. Now, Minister, the people I represent, the very, very poor and vulnerable, peasant farmers from Shindamu, are asking, what strategy do you have for those who are not even on the database and cannot be on the database? They are there in the remote, in the villages. How can you bridge the gap for them to access NEMA services? I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Labour, Social Security.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm not very clear about the database. I'm not sure which database the Honourable Member is referring to. But if it's coming back to just the reach to all Zambians, irrespective of where they live, that is, Mr. Speaker, it lads on the service care institutional framework that has been put in place by government and private entrepreneurs. I earlier indicated that previously probably the type of institutions in the public sector that were lined up, that were eligible to being members of NEMA, to claim from NEMA, were predominantly those which are in the urban areas and the provincial headquarters and the CBDs. But now it is expected that NEMA will be rolling out, getting two even health centers, like rural health centers, or where there are many clinics or mini hospitals. Those are channels that are being considered to be added on so that they are able to cater to those who are in those remote areas, according to the eligibility criteria as prescribed in the law. I submit.
Thank you. Let's make progress. This question has been debated enough. Next question, the Honorable Member for Chawama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question number 354.
The Honorable Minister, the Acting Minister of Health, Minister of Law Government.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Tasila Lungu, the Honorable MP for Chawama, is asking the Minister of Health at A, whether government has any plans to construct a mortuary at Chawama First Level Hospital in Chawama Parliamentary Constituency. At B, she wants to know that if so, when these plans will be implemented. At C, she wishes to know what the estimated time of completion for this project will be, and if there are no plans, why is that so? Our response. Government indeed has plans to construct a mortuary at the Chawama First Level Hospital in Chawama Parliamentary Constituency through either one or the other means. As Minister acting for health and also substantive Minister of Local Government, I am aware that the Chawama Constituency Development Fund did apply for an approval of this particular project, which approval process is still work under progress. Madam Speaker, I wish also for the Honorable Member of Parliament to be aware that the hospital in question was upgraded to first level hospital, and the upgrade at the time it did happen did not include the project that she's speaking about. And therefore, it goes without saying that ever since the upgrade, the people of Chawama have been taking the remains of their loved ones to the University Teaching Hospital, a situation that has occasioned this question from the Honorable Member of Parliament. Further to the application for the approval of the construction of this mortuary or morgue, I wish the member to also know that government has plans to procure 10 units of mortuary in a phased manner for public health facilities that do not have these mortuaries. And this is expected to happen in the latter part of this year. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
The Honorable Member for Chawama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for that response. I wanted to know, how are you planning to select the constituencies that will receive the 10 mortuaries that you will be building as government? I thank you.
The Acting Minister of Health.
I heard her very clearly. Honorable Member of Parliament, how the ministry intends to select the beneficiaries of these units at the time when they are procured in the phased manner will depend on the need levels. And I want to confirm to you, my dear sister, or daughter, as a matter of fact, that we recognize the population in Chawama and the dire need for the people of Chawama to have this facility. So I can assure you that at the time when we procure these 10 units, Chawama will be given first preference.
The Honorable Member for Shuangando.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, and we appreciate the responses coming from the Honorable Acting Minister of Health. Maybe just to get clear, the Honorable Minister indicated that being Minister of Local Government, he is aware that there was an approval granted for the construction of the mortuary at the Level 1, Chawama Level 1 Hospital. Would you be in a position to know how far that approval went? Because if it was approved, then probably it could have included the mortuary units that go with the facility. Would you shed more light on how far that approval went? in terms of implementation. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Health.
Thank you, Honorable Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament, for showing undo. The approval process of this particular project is limited to the mortuary, because remember, the hospital already exists. So the Constituency Development Fund Committee received this requirement from the WDCs as a collective, which requirement has now since been processed by the Constituency Development Fund, where the Member of Parliament sits. And is sitting right at the office of the Provincial Local Government Officer, being attended to. So the unit is a single mortuary unit, such as the one that was procured by the Kanchiria constituency. So depending on which comes first, and I suspect, because both of these funding are government funds, depending on which comes first, if the approval for the CDF comes first, so be it. It means that these 10 that are being procured centrally will have to be taken to other level 1 hospitals that do not have mortuaries. And let me just maybe say this, Mr. Speaker, that to build a hospital, to upgrade the hospital, the mortuary is the backlog. That is something that you require to do. It's similar to building a house. You cannot build a house without building a toilet. So clearly, there was an anomaly in the manner in which these hospitals were being upgraded to cater for such a large population of people without looking at the backlog, because people die every day. And so it is a lesson that we've learned that in the past, hospitals that have high traffic, such as Chawama Level 1 Hospital, were actually constructed without putting due care on the issue of the ones who die or who pass on. So we are taking this matter very seriously, and that's why we have a double-pronged approach, that whichever comes first, the CDF application or indeed the government funding for these 10 units, we will then be all good together in Chawama, and they are going to start enjoying the facility of a morgue without having to take their deceased and dear ones to the University Teaching Hospital.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Chawama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honourable Minister, once again. I just wanted to know the exact time that you will start procuring these 10 units. I thank you.
Honourable Member, I thought that was attended to. I think it was attended to, unless the Minister wants to say something.
Yeah, I'll be slow, but I'll say it. I say that because of the grave nature of this demand, whichever comes first, the approval by the local government, the provincial local government officer, or the central procurement, whichever comes first, we will give Chawama first priority. And maybe, let me assure the Honourable Member of Parliament that let's place focus on this matter together, and I invite you to remind me just tomorrow to make sure that that process of the CDF approval is done as soon as tomorrow, so that you can go ahead with your procurement.
Thank you. Next question. By prior notice, the Honourable Member for Mukushi North will ask on behalf of the Honourable Member for Mukushi South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question number 355.
The Acting Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Chiwe, the Honourable Member of Parliament from Mukushi North, is asking the Minister of Health that A, when the construction of the following infrastructure in the Mukushi Parliamentary Constituency District Hospital will be completed. 6 low-cost housing units, female ward, children's ward, covered walkways. At B, what the cause of the delay in completion of these works is. At C, what the cost of the outstanding work is. And finally, at D, what the time frame for the completion of the outstanding work is going to be. Our response, Mr. Speaker. The construction of the Mukushi District Hospital Phase 3, which comprises the following: 1, 6 low-cost housing units, 2, female ward, 3, children's ward, 4, covered walkways is earmarked for completion in the 4th quarter of this year, 2023. At B, Mr. Speaker, the initial contract was terminated due to the contractor who abandoned the site. At C, Mr. Speaker, the cost of the outstanding works will only be known once the successful bidder or contractor has been selected. At D, finally, Mr. Speaker, the time frame of the outstanding works will then be determined when the contract is awarded to the successful bidder. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Mukushi South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Honourable Minister, you have indicated that the Phase 3 will be completed in the 4th quarter, where we are going to go very soon. And that you are in the process of selecting the bidder. Now, when do you think that the process of selecting the bidder will be concluded so that we see that the people of Mukushi North can start receiving the necessary services? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Health.
Thank you. This question the Honourable MP is giving requires me to go back to the Ministry and research. As you know, I'm acting. I couldn't give you a bullet answer to say this is what's going on. But all I know is that the processes of finding another contractor is underway. But should this matter be as of serious interest as you put it, my invitation to you is to come through the Ministry of Health so that together we can show one another at what pace we are moving on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, the Honourable Member for Katombola. The Honourable Member for Katombola. So the question lapses. There was no notice here, so what? The question has elapsed. The clerk will now read the orders of the day.
Report of the Committee on National Security and Foreign Affairs, motion of 5th July, resumption of debate.
When business was interrupted on Friday, 7th July 2023, the House was considering the motion moved by the Honourable Member for Kasama Central, that this House do adopt a report of the Committee on National Security and Foreign Affairs on the report of Auditor General on the control and regulation of illegal immigrants in Zambia for the second session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 23rd June 2023. And The Honorable Minister of Justice was debating. May the Honorable Minister continue?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the House may wish to note that the Ministry developed the National Migration Policy, which was launched on 2nd December 2022 and is being implemented with the Ministry of Home Affairs and Internal Security leading the implementation process. Following the launch of the policy, one of the initiatives taken by the Ministry was to review the Immigration and Deportation Act number 18 of 2010 to ensure that it is aligned with the policy and enhances the rights of migrants. The review process of the Act is underway. Mr. Speaker, effective control of borders and regulation of ports of entry requires prioritization of resource allocation. In this regard, Cabinet approved a separate budgetary head for the Department of Immigration, that is Budgetary Head 23, National Immigration Services. The development has resulted in the ceiling being determined by the Treasury as opposed to being tied to the ceiling for the Head 15, Ministry of Home Affairs and Internal Security. The department received higher allocation in the 2023 budget, which will help address some of the prevailing challenges that hampered operations. In addition, a new organizational structure for the Department of Immigration has been approved, creating 1,460 new positions, including 190 border guards. Treasury authority to fill 255 positions was granted, and currently the officers are undergoing training. Out of this number, 91 of them are border guards recruited for the first time to exclusively patrol our borderline. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry is desirous to provide a conducive working environment for the Department of Immigration by providing adequate habitable office and housing infrastructure. Under the first phase of construction of housing for security wings, the Department of Immigration was allocated 71 housing units constructed in different locations. The Ministry has also improved border infrastructure in some border areas, among them Mwandi, Lukulu, Mokambo, and Kipushi border posts. The Ministry has continued to engage the Treasury on provision of resources for construction of more housing units and improvement of other border infrastructure for the Department of Immigration. The Ministry is considering a proposal to establish a dedicated school for the Department of Immigration. To this effect, 40 hectares of land has been secured from the Zambia Correctional Service in Nyangu area in Kaoma. This will enable the department to undertake recruitment at a low cost, as well as enable serving officers undergo refresher training. Mr. Speaker, to have accurate, timely, and adequate disaggregated migration data, which is central to targeted policy development and decision-making, the Ministry embarked on the implementation of the National Monitoring and Information System on Immigration Matters and Immigration Control Zambia Information Management System. As of 30th May 2023, the department rolled out ZIMS to 62 out of 98 stations countrywide, Mr. Speaker. ZIMS has been integrated with other systems such as the Government Service Bus, PACRA, Ministry of Home Affairs and Internal Security Safe City, and PISIS systems to ensure the national monitoring and service provision are improved by sharing data. In the remaining part of 2023, Mr. Speaker, the plan is to further roll out ZIMS to 9 immigration border controls, namely Muyombe, Sikongo, Shangombo, Kanyala, Sinda, Misale, Jimbe, Kaputa, and Muwezi. Further, Mr. Speaker, 11 internal offices, namely Mumbwa, Itejiteji, Kaoma, Senanga, Zambezi, Samfya, Mbala, Kawambwa, Isoka, and Mafinga are also being connected to the ZIMS network to ensure that the Department of Immigration provides timely and adequate disaggregated data on migration. Mr. Speaker, to ensure that appeals are not delayed, the Ministry has devised a system of ensuring timely handling of appeals by holding ministerial appeals meetings more frequently and where the minister has been unavailable during normal working days, the meetings are scheduled on weekends. As a result of this intervention, there is no backlog of cases. Mr. Speaker, despite the successes recorded with regard to control and regulation of illegal migrants in Zambia, the Department of Immigration still requires a lot of support to attain the desired operational outcomes, especially with regard to accommodation and office space, transport, operational equipment, and staffing levels. The government will remain committed to ensuring that the recommendations in this report are addressed. I urge the House to adopt the report. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Kasama Central, wind-up debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to take this opportunity to wish my colleague and brother, Honorable Robert Kalimi, who was involved in a road traffic accident. I'd like to wish him a quick recovery. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, I would also like to take this opportunity to wish myself a happy birthday. Mr. Speaker, in winding up debate, I would like to thank the seconder of the motion, Honorable Mlaliki, as well as other members that ably debated and supported this motion. These are Honorable Member of Parliament for Mansa Central, Honorable Chitalu Chilufya, as well as Honorable Kampyongo, Member of Parliament for Shiwangandu. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to thank the Acting Minister for all the government assurances that have been contained in his statement policy. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. I put the question. The question is that this House do adopt a report of the Committee on National Security and Foreign Affairs on the report of the Auditor General on the control and regulation of illegal immigrants in Zambia for the second session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 23rd June. As many of that opinion say aye, of the contrary say no, the question is resolved in the affirmative. Her Honor, the Vice President, adjournment.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the House do now adjourn.
The question is that the House do now adjourn. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. The House? Is now adjourned.
And there you have it. Business has since come to a close today, Tuesday, 11 July 2023. And like always, at this particular moment, we take time to recap the business that has been transacted on the floor of the House, starting at 14:30 hours.
There was one question for oral answer under Standing Order 76, which came from Joseph, Member of Parliament, Mr. Mishek Mbose, and he posed this question to the Minister of Agriculture. He wanted to find out whether the government is aware that members of CAM Agriculture Committees, CACs, in Chasifu District have been getting part of the fertilizer meant for farmers under the Farmer Input Support Program, thereby depriving farmers of their full package under the program. And according to the Minister's response, he did say that government is not aware. And in the B part of the question, he wanted to find out if so, what urgent measures are being taken to ensure that farmers are not deprived of their fertilizer in the next farming season. And according to the Minister's response, he did say that one of the measures is that government will ensure that correct beneficiaries are identified in all districts in the 2023-2024 farming season. And another measure is that there will be sensitization of all eligible farmers on the need to have the right details on the beneficiaries list. And in the C part of the question, he wanted to find out whether the government has any plans to abolish CACs countrywide. And according to the minister's response, he did say that the CACs are a community-driven process. Therefore, it is the community's decision to decide whether the structure should continue, be done away with, or members should be changed.
Right. Thereafter, the House went on to consider 11 questions for oral answer understanding order number 74. Initially, the House was supposed to consider 12 questions understanding order number 74, but question 356 lapsed. The time that this question came up for consideration, the Member of Parliament who was supposed to ask this particular question was not in the House. So we'll just go through some of the questions that have been considered under standing order number 74. We had question 346 coming from Mr. Chanda of Kanchibia. He did ask the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development a question in 3 parts, whether the government has any plans to rehabilitate the Serengem-Pika stretch of the Great North Road, and in response the Minister did say that government has plans to rehabilitate the Serengem-Pika stretch of the Great North Road. That's the 235-kilometer stretch. And in the B part of the question, the Member of Parliament wanted to find out when the plans will be implemented, and in response the Minister did say that the 30-kilometer Pika Serenge stretch will be implemented once a contractor and supervising contractor have been engaged. The last part of the question, the Member of Parliament wanted to find out the time frame for the completion of the project. And in response, the Minister did say that this will only be known once the detailed designs are prepared and the contractor secured.
Another question came from Chadiza Member of Parliament, Mr. J. Daka, who posed this question to the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development. He wanted to find out whether the government has any plans to construct bridges across the following rivers in Chadiza parliamentary constituency. The first one is Mwangazi in Mwangazi Ward, Mwami in Kumba Ward, and Mukumbuzi in Mukumbuzi Ward. And so according to the Minister's response, he did say that government has plans, and in the B part of the question, he wanted to find out if so when the plans will be implemented. And according to the Minister's response, he did say that plans to be implemented once funds for the works have been secured by the Treasury. In the C part of the question, he wanted to find out what the estimated cost of the project is, and the Minister did respond that it will only be known once the details designs have been done.
Mr. Kapyanga of Mpika constituency did ask the Minister of Tourism whether the government has any plans to rehabilitate the government guest house in Mpika district, and in response the Minister of Tourism did say that government guest house in Mpika district is currently being managed by the provincial administration in Muchinga province. However, government has plans to transfer such institutions to the hotel's board of management, and once this has been achieved, government would then develop a mechanism to rehabilitate the guest house. In the other part of the question, the Member of Parliament wanted to find out when these plans will be implemented, and the Minister did say that, as alluded in his first response, implementation will take place once the guest house has been transferred to the hotel's board of management. The last part of the question, the Member of Parliament wanted to find out whether the government will consider a public-private partnership arrangement on the project, and in response the Minister did say that in the short term government has no plans to enter into the public-private partnership. However, in the long term government will consider entering into the public-private partnership to rehabilitate the guest house and other government-owned accommodation establishments.
Another question came from Pemba Member of Parliament, Mr. Lamek Hamwata, who posed this question to the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development. He wanted to find out whether the government has any plans to rehabilitate the following roads in Pemba district. That's Muzoka Moyo and Pemba Mapanza. And according to the Minister's response, he did say that yes, government has plans. In the B part of the question, he wanted to find out if so when the plans will be implemented, and the Minister responded to say that plans will only be implemented once the Treasury secures funds. And in the C part of the question, he wanted to find out what the estimated cost of the project is, And according to the minister's response, he did say that it can only be determined once the detailed designs have been prepared and the contractor is procured.
Question 353 came from Mr. Katakwe of Solwezi East. He did ask the Minister of Labour and Social Security how much money was collected by the National Health Insurance Management Authority through member contributions under the National Health Insurance Scheme from January 2020 to August 2021, and the Minister did say that approximately 1.2 billion was collected. The B part of the question, the MP wanted to find out how many members were registered with the scheme as of November 2022. And the minister did say that the members that were registered were 2,742,410. And how many members benefited from the scheme as of November 2022? The members were 1,640,760 members. That's question 353.
Another question came from Mufumbo, Member of Parliament, Mr. Elliot Kamondo, who posed this question to the Minister of Health. He wanted to find out whether the government has any plans to rehabilitate the Mufumbo District Hospital. And according to the Minister's response, he did say that yes, government has plans. In the B part of the question, he wanted to find out if so when the plans will be implemented, and the Minister did respond that plans will be implemented in the fourth quarter of 2023. In the C part of the question, he wanted to find out whether there are any plans to construct a maternity wing at the hospital, and the Minister did respond to say that there are no immediate plans to construct a maternity wing at the hospital.
Those are just some of the questions that were considered. That's questions for oral answer understanding order number 74. After consideration of those questions, we had the resumption of debate on the report of the Committee on National Security and Foreign Affairs, a report that was moved by Brigadier General Stwala, retired, for the House to adopt the report of the Committee on National Security and Foreign Affairs on the report of the Auditor General on the control and regulation of illegal migrants in Zambia for the second session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 23rd June 2023, and this report has since been adopted. Matimba?
And so that is basically business that has been considered on the floor of the House today, Tuesday, the 11th of July, 2023. And so from us and the entire production crew, thank you so much for your time. Keep watching Parliament Television and have a blessed night.
On DSTV Premium, Nora is back as life in the Big Apple continues to surprise her and her outrageous family and friends.
I have an idea.
You do? Two families battle for the coveted camp trophy in this hilarious family-friendly movie.
That was fun.
That was something.
And F1 hits the tarmac as Red Bull continues their push for dominance.
Absolutely epic!
It's your moment to be entertained by staying connected to DSTV Premium.
Not doing anything.
Football and the nest.
Yeah.
And I'll forever love you.
I'm pregnant.
Vaskauti vachisa.
Kuchashina ndo podi padiste.
Tapachi veshina lyoge mozo.
Jamefu kumivomera komanda. Mbora na yena tatamuna mwana kapo future ilionza komanda.
Bige njera po. Chipondo.
Dominia kasewo.
Football lives on
on GoTV.
Works the space well.
Nobody but GoTV gives you all games of La Liga and Serie A.
And he scored. And it's into the net again.
The Premier League.
He has nailed
Bola Yapa Z and UEFA games that matter. Get a Go Coder, Go Tenor, plus 1 month of GoTV Super for only 499 kwacha to enjoy the football madness. GoTV. Love it.
There were 59,439 registered cashew nut farmers in Western Province.
The situation as it is, I'm incapacitated.
The good people of Petauke, especially in Nika 1, where we don't have water.
This is now a serious risk on the people of Iteztezi. Last week we registered one maternal death.
Within the CDF, we can build palaces for all chiefs in our country.
Minister, when are we going to have money? When are we going to construct those?
Catch us live on DSTV channel 272, OTV channel 28, Topstar channel 5, or visit the National Assembly of Zambia Facebook page. Parliament Television, bringing Parliament closer to you.
We have seen a propensity.
The debates, the questioning, the making of laws, the confrontation. The live parliamentary proceedings are aired on Parliament TV every Tuesday to Thursday at 14:30 hours and Fridays at 09 hours. Make a date. Parliament TV, bringing Parliament closer to you.
Katuba constituency lies west of Lusaka and is the first entry into Central Province on the Great North Road. Katuba derives its name from Gutuba, meaning white sand. The constituency is mostly rural, but experiencing rapid growth in real estate development and smallholder farms. There are also a few factories that have come up in the past few years. In order to bridge the gap between the area member of parliament and the constituents, a constituency office was established in 2009. Mr. Mwabashike Nkulukusa is Katuba Member of Parliament, elected in 2021. He now runs through the members of parliament that have served before him.
I'm the number 8th member of parliament, the first one in the 70s when Katuba was annexed from Kembe, because it used to be one constituency, which we call the first member of parliament for Katuba.